Amazing. Thank you so much. Everyone, my name is Marek Olszewski. I'm one of the co-founders of Celo. It's really wonderful to be here. And today I'm going to be talking about building Web3 applications for everyone. And I wanted to start with a question. I like to start these things on the interactive side. And so I wanted to ask each of you to raise your hands if you think that Web3 today is now accessible to everyone. Who thinks that, we've mostly done, all the hard work, that Web3 is ready for the masses? All that we have to do is market it to everyone. Do we have a single person willing to raise their hand? Not a single person. And I agree. And I think it would make Satoshi very sad. Shown here in the form of a cat emoji because, why not? And it makes me sad, right? Because I think, we're 15 years in from the original Bitcoin white paper, and we still haven't cracked this nut. We still haven't made Web3 accessible for everyone. And that's a real shame. And it's a real shame because there's a lot of people out there. And all of these folks could be rushing into the house of Web3 if we could build products that could target them in a better way. And instead, it's just folks like us who are here who get to have all the fun, right? We're here, we're building and using these amazing dApps. These are truly revolutionary new pieces of technology that are also a lot of fun to use. And we get to have all the fun, but sadly, these folks, they're not here yet. And so why is it? Why do we think that Web3 is still too difficult for the masses to adopt? And I would argue it's primarily because it's still quite difficult to build Web3 experiences as a developer that are easy enough for everyone to use. However, I'm here today to say that actually we are now at the point where we can build really easy to use Web3 applications because with Celo, we've actually have a platform that unlocks this capability for developers to build those really easy, delightful, and just amazing experiences for everyone in the world. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about why that is today. But before I get there, for folks who are new to Celo, I just wanted to give a very, quick emoji-based, of course, introduction to Celo. And so first and foremost, Celo is an EVM-compatible proof-of-stake network. It's actually among one of the first EVM-compatible proof-of-stake networks to have launched. It's been live now for 3 years, and it is also the first chain to be carbon negative. So 3 years ago, the community voted to offset the carbon that the chain emits, and it's been running and buying programmatically carbon offset credits ever since. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in the next session. So if you're interested, definitely stick around. But for this talk, I want to focus more on the ease of use side of things. And on that front, the key really is that Celo was built with mobile in mind. If we're trying to build for everyone, we need to target the devices that everyone is using. And mobile, naturally is where you're going to find the majority of people. And critically, there's some additional features on top of the EVM that we've added that make it particularly easy to build just easy-to-use applications for end users. And so you might be asking, what are these features? So we're going to go through them. There's about 3 that I'd like to kind of point out. And this was the best emoji I could find for the number 3 shown with a hand. So bear with me. But let's start with reason number 1. So reason number 1 is we have spent countless hours thinking about gas UX, thinking about how to make it so that it is just very easy for users to sign transactions, and to never be shocked by the price of those transactions. A lot of effort has gone into this. And so, first and foremost, to do that, we have to create a very scalable proof-of-stake consensus protocol. We devoted countless hours. This was actually 4 years ago when we created the first, again, EVM-compatible proof-of-stake network. And we invested a lot into creating a very scalable consensus protocol that can actually execute upwards of 1,000 transactions per second, which is not an easy feat for an EVM-compatible chain. And first and foremost, it's scalable. It also offers one-block finality, which is absolutely critical, right? If you're signing a transaction and if you're then told that it was validated and included in the block, you can't expect your typical consumer to be able to then not be surprised when they're told later, oh, actually there was a chain reorg and your transaction that you thought was part of the blockchain was actually removed. We worked really hard to eliminate that possibility. And so we have one block finality or one slot finality. Once a transaction is mined, it is there forever. It cannot be rolled back. And with a scalable blockchain, of course, you get low gas fees. And there's really been a commitment from developers in the Celo ecosystem to work really hard to keep gas fees at less than 1 cent per ERC20 transfer. This is a commitment that the ecosystem, the developers in the ecosystem have made. And so far, we've been able to accommodate it. And we're really proud about that. But more importantly, I would say, than scalability, and forgot about that slide. And so why is, low gas important? I think it's pretty obvious, but, I don't know if in the last bull market you had this reaction when trying to sign a new transaction. I certainly have on other networks. And clearly, if you're building for everyone, this is something that we want to avoid. If you generate that reaction when getting someone to sign a transaction, where they're freaking out because it's become quite expensive, you're almost certainly going to lose them. And so again, we worked really hard to avoid this. But more important than this, I would say, is Celo's ability to pay for gas with tokens. So in Celo, you can pay for gas with ERC20 tokens that have been added through on-chain governance to an allow list. Right now, there are 3 tokens that are listed, all stable coins pegged to the US dollar, to the euro, and to the Brazilian real. And on Celo, you can actually pay for transactions with these tokens. And this works without account abstraction. You can do this with an EOA wallet. Which is just really wonderful for payment use cases because you can just, send the stablecoin to your friend, and that friend can then send that stablecoin onwards to someone else. We're in the process of also adding WETH as a gas currency, which will also be pretty nice for users coming from Ethereum. And so this is great. This helps us avoid, this scenario. Curious if anybody here, if this resonates with anybody here. I've certainly sent USDC to an address on Ethereum before and then realized, oh crap, I don't have gas currency to send that on to someone else. That's a really, really frustrating experience. It's clearly not one that we can present to the masses. And so again, we worked really, really hard to eliminate this. You can send the stablecoin to your friend, and that friend can then send it on to someone else because they can use that stablecoin to pay for the transaction fee. So that was reason number 1. Reason number 2, and that's the mobile-first focus. So I alluded to this earlier on. Celo was built really with this incredible mobile-first focus, and it comes from the origin story, which is one where we initially, before we even thought about building Celo, we initially wanted to build a really easy-to-use mobile wallet on top of Ethereum that people could use like a global Venmo wallet. So in the US, we have Venmo. It allows you to send money really easily to anyone in your contact list. We wanted to recreate this, but using crypto at a global scale. And we tried to do this 5 years ago on top of Ethereum, and we couldn't create the experience that we wanted. And so that ultimately took us down the path of building Celo, an EVM chain that has all of those features. And many of those features, not surprisingly, because we were starting with a mobile wallet, were mobile features. And so these include a phone number identity system, which has evolved over the years to something that we're calling Social Connect, which allows you to effectively verify your phone number in a privacy-preserving manner and map it to a wallet address in a way that allows anybody in the ecosystem to send value to your phone number and not have to think about using public key-derived addresses. Because if you're building for everyone, public key-derived addresses are just way too intimidating. And people already have addresses. Phone numbers are really great addresses. They exist in people's contact lists. If you use them as identifiers, then you can allow people to send tokens or crypto to people in their contact list. And with Social Connect, you can actually do that not just in one wallet, but across all of the wallets in the Celo ecosystem. And so this was the first major mobile feature that we built, and it's now being implemented by the following wallets, which again makes it really nice to, when sending value between these wallets, you can use phone numbers instead of these public key-derived addresses. And critically, this can work even before the recipient installs the wallet, which is really nice. You know, you can introduce someone to crypto by sending some value to them. That value can live in a smart contract that then they can redeem once they sign up, create a wallet, and verify that wallet. The other feature that we built was a ZK Snark-based light client called Plumo. This was honestly a huge undertaking. We launched this a year ago. We built this with some of the earlier ZK Snark proving primitives, you know, way before Plonk came out. And this is really important if you want to sync with the chain using really minimal amounts of data from your mobile phone in a fully decentralized way. And so we worked long and hard on this, and it launched last year, and it's really quite wonderful. With just a few kilobytes of data, you can actually be convinced that a particular header is part of the chain, allowing you, in effect, to do a light client sync with very, very little data. So we're really, really proud about that. Okay, reason number 3. Once again, we're back to the funny emoji. Reason number 3 is around on and off ramping. So if you talk to a lot of users today and you ask them, you know, what is it that is really holding back most users from being able to use crypto today? Frequently on and off ramping comes in. And, you know, it's something that I think if we can solve, I think we can really make a lot of progress towards building dApps that everyone in the world can use. And what we would like really is a way for wallets to offer native cash in and out experiences that are available in every market in the world, right? Like if you had to just wave a magic wand, what would you want? You would probably say something to the effect of this. And if we could do that, then something pretty exciting would happen. We would get to live in a world where you could send value to anyone in the world. And in a way, we already live in that world, right? You can send crypto to anyone in the world, and they can use a self-custodial wallet to receive it. So we have this first part. But once we have native on and off ramps integrated into every wallet in the world, then that value will be immediately useful for the recipient the second they get it, right? And if we can pull this off, then we'll be in a, I would say, really exciting place, right? Like there was a time when you couldn't send a text message really easily to anyone in the world, especially not for free. And with the invention of WhatsApp and many other messaging services, we've kind of moved past that era. And it really wasn't that long ago when when it was quite difficult to send these messages. And the world really changed really quite rapidly when that happened. And we suspect the same thing will happen when you can send value to anyone in the world and have it be immediately useful. So how do we get there? Well, we need to have every wallet integrate with every on and off ramp company out there. When I say on and off ramp company, I mean something like Transact or Ramp or MoonPay. There's increasingly a lot of these, and increasingly there's ones that are forming in each market in the world that have the local licenses and the local banking relationships with the local financial rails. If you want to integrate with all of them, you need to, every wallet needs to put some engineering effort in and kind of connect with that on and off ramp. And if each of these wallets were to do that with each on and off ramp, you would end up with what I like to call, something that starts to look like a spaghetti mess, right? It's a many-to-many integration nightmare where everyone has to do a lot of work. And that is not very efficient, and so it would be a lot nicer if we could replace this with something in the middle where we move to a hub and spoke model where everyone only has to do the work once. And so that is something that we're calling Fiat Connect, which we launched last year. And Fiat Connect, you can think of it as the wallet connect of the on and off ramping world. So just like Wallet Connect makes it a lot easier for every wallet to connect with every dApp using a standardized API, Fiat Connect is that standardized API that lets you connect your wallet or your dApp with every on and off ramp out there. It's an open source project. It's a backend API, which means that wallets can implement the whole front-end experience, enabling this really nice native experience. And critically, once a wallet or a dApp has implemented one of these, then adding a new on and off ramp becomes as easy as just making a configuration change. And so that is really nice because it allows wallets to potentially integrate hundreds of on and off ramps in the future as they pop up in every market in the world. And I'm super excited to share that earlier this year, the standard went out last year, but when it came to on and off ramps actually implementing it, that happened this year. At the beginning of this year, Valora implemented Fiat Connect, and a bunch of on and off ramps also implemented it, and it went live in Nigeria, Kenya, and the Philippines. And since then, more on and off ramps have popped up that have implemented it in more markets, and now Fiat Connect is available in 12 markets, where you can send money, send a stable coin to people in these markets, and those people can now cash out into either mobile money or into a bank account using a licensed on and off ramp experience that is fully native to the wallet. And so it's very easy for the user to do this. It feels 100% native, and the money is instantly available. You don't have to go through an exchange. You don't have to go through a P2P service. It's just built directly into the wallet, and the experience is really quite lovely. And so this is what the world looks like right now, right? We have these 12 markets that are supported by Fiat Connect. And there are a lot of companies now that are actively building against the standard. And so it won't be long before the world will look like this, where once again, you'll be able to send and receive money from these folks in these markets, and those folks will be able to freely move back and forth between fiat and crypto really easily using, again, these licensed, regulated services that are natively integrated in these wallets. Awesome. So those are I would say, the three really big enablers that collectively allow you to build really easy to use mobile experiences that target normies that anyone really in the world can use. And if you want to check some of these out, some of them are available for you today. The first one is one that I talked about earlier, and that's Valora. Valora is this really easy to use P2P payments product. It is a crypto wallet. It's a self-custodial crypto wallet. But if you look at the bottom, you'll see that the primary actions that we're encouraging people to perform are sending stable coins to people in their contact lists. We really are encouraging people to use this as a P2P payments wallet. And it works quite well in this capacity because with Celo, you can send money to phone numbers, you can pay for gas with these stable coins, and so you can actually, the send flow just lets you search through your contact list, find someone that you want to search for using their name, that you want to pay using their name, and again, you can pay for that transaction fee in the asset that you're sending. But Valora is more than just a P2P wallet. It's also a signing wallet with a dApp browser. And there have been a number of dApps that have popped up in the Celo ecosystem that you can now access through Valora and obviously through MetaMask and a lot of other wallets. These include Uniswap v3. We're really humbled that Uniswap is on Celo. We're one of the few chains, I think 5 chains, that they support. Curve is also available on Celo and available in Valora, as is Pool Together and a bunch of other saving protocols. And what's really cool when talking to these protocols is that when you observe when they observe the traffic that they receive on the Celo chain versus other chains, they frequently find that it is composed of a much higher percentage of mobile traffic than on other chains. And that tells us that we're on the right track. We're attracting developers that are building for mobile. We're attracting users who are on mobile. And those folks are using these dApps, using all of this nice functionality that makes it really easy for them to do so. And once you can send stable value really easily to anyone in the world, and once it's easy for folks to cash out that value, then you can start doing some really cool applications that were quite expensive to do before. And one of these is Impact Market that has launched a universal basic income program on top of Celo. Impact Market is just one of a few universal basic income projects on Celo. Good Dollar is another really popular one. And Impact Market now operates throughout the world in a number of communities. And they've raised over $3 million in donations, so not in investments, but actual donations that they've then dispersed to around 60,000 beneficiaries on the order of 50 cents a day. Yeah, and these folks receive this UBI in a stable coin, usually a US dollar pegged stable coin. And they can choose to cash it out, and many of them do the first time they receive it. But what we've seen that I think is really exciting is we've seen folks stop cashing it out. The second they know that they can cash it out reliably, suddenly they get excited about spending it and saving it instead. And so here's an example of a community in Brazil where Emmanuel, in this case, saved up his UBI over the course of a week and then went to a local store that started accepting CUSD using Valora, and then actually bought some groceries at the end of the week using their UBI and transacted using crypto. The whole transaction was settled on a blockchain. And what we're seeing now is in these communities, the money starts circulating as a medium of exchange on public blockchains, which makes me really excited because it shows, again, that we've built something that's easy enough for regular consumers to use. They can use it for payments, and that's definitely a very universal use case. Another really exciting protocol is Sylvie, that is incentivizing tree reforestation, initially starting in Kenya. Sylvie has a really wonderful protocol and a really nice mobile app that incentivizes people to go and plant a tree, and then others to go and verify that the tree is in fact where it's said to be. And they are now reforesting a rainforest in Kenya, right adjacent to a national park that was heavily deforested in the past. And what we're seeing there is the same thing that happened with those impact market communities. These farmers who have taken to planting these trees have gotten excited about these new crypto tokens and have started to actually spend them in their local communities. And again, the money has started circulating in these communities as a medium of exchange. And there's many other dApps. I don't have time to go into all of them, but one thing that we're particularly excited about in the community is the fact that adoption has been growing. So over the last few months, we've seen an uptick in the number of addresses that are using the platform. And now we're at over twice the monthly active users of the last peak that happened in the bull market over a year ago. And so we think that this is, again, representative of the fact that we've created something that many users can use, and we're seeing increasingly more and more users come in and start actually taking advantage of this wonderful platform. So that's it. Let's BUIDL for everyone. We have the platform now that makes it possible. I hope you enjoyed this talk. And I just wanted to end with a quick plug for the next session. So we just talked a little bit about using Celo for building really easy to use mobile applications, but there's a whole part of Celo that's focused on the regenerative economy, on refi as it's called. And if you're interested in hearing a little bit more about that, join me in the next session. Thank you very much.